We've been waiting for this moment. We've been waiting for this man, Joe Milton, to get traded. While I wanted him to go somewhere like Pittsburgh and be the lone starter, to be traded earlier in the offseason to Las Vegas before Geno went and decided to be the quarterback there in LV, which I don't love, but Bowers will do fine. I wanted this man to deliver footballs to Bowers. I wanted this man to go somewhere and be the lone starter. Can you imagine DK Metcalf catching footballs from Joe Milton? But we can't have that pipe dream anymore. Right now, we need to discuss what the impact is of this monster Joe Milton getting traded to the Dallas Cowboys. I'll tell you this. Ceedee Lamb has a security blanket. Ceedee Lamb has a safety net that's sitting under him. And if Dak gets hurt, and he's had some injury issues in the past, let's not act like Dak is some walking, image of health. He could get hurt at any moment. He's had multiple injuries now that have taken him out for seasons upon seasons. So now you've got a guy in Joe Milton, who's my favorite dark horse. No one knows how good he is, quarterback, going to secure this amazing potential offense. They got the 12th pick as well. What if the Dallas Cowboys end up going in a direction where they draft Egbuka, let's say at this number 12 pick, or they take Ted McMillan, they take a receiver that can also help Dak Prescott or Joe Milton? I couldn't be more ecstatic for Ceedee Lamb. I could be more excited for Joe Milton, but I'm quietly loving just the way this all comes together. It's better than New England, where there wasn't as many weapons and opportunity for Joe Milton if, let's say, injury struck. Not to mention, for the Patriot fans out there, I got Travis out there, I got a lot of people. The idea of Drake May getting hurt before Dak Prescott, I think Joe Milton has a potential better path to get in and cause some havoc. And I don't necessarily want that. I like Dak. Dak looks really good right now. He's in shape. He's rehabbed. He's focused. He's hungry. He looks lean. He looks mean. This is not an anti-Dak show, and I want to make sure everybody knows I believe Dak's going to cook this year. Dak's one of the most undervalued fantasy football assets in the 9, 10, 11 round range, when you might want to go late quarterback shopping, or even if you're in a 1 QB league and you go Josh Allen or JD5 early, Dak is still an unbelievable double-digit round QB2. But now you have the dynasty obligation to go make sure you got Milton if Dak's your quarterback. There's some complexities here, and there's some still excitement that can coexist with the excitement of Dak that lives in the excitement with Milton, and all of it tying together to put Lamb on Saturn.
Get lambed.
The Jupiter men. Jupiter is so large, every planet in the solar system could fit inside it. There are no bigger monsters than the Jupiter men.
Not Saturn. There's no Jupiter emoji. So the title of the video is Lamb to Saturn. But really, we want to send him. He's going to Jupiter. He's going to Jupiter. He's a supernova.
There are handfuls of Saturn, Mars, and Moon men, but only 8 can be supernovas. I give you the 8 best picks in fantasy football.
They are the 8 supernovas. They are the 8 supernovas. The hateful 8 supernovas. Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Yeah, I see some of your comments, and you're not wrong. A lot of you saying this is unfair to Joe Milton. Joe Milton should be starting somewhere. And again, I kind of led with that I believe that this is kind of a win and lose situation for those of us that believe in this monster that's sitting right in front of you. This beast, this back-flipping absolute gem, this cannon of an arm. He's got a cannon attached to his shoulder. He can throw 75 yards down the field and then do a backflip after when Ceedee Lamb's still running into the end zone, doing a little dance as this guy is literally just steamrolling through people as he runs to Ceedee Lamb and they embrace each other in the end zone. I mean, I think this is deceptively, we got to look at it from the positive. We can't sit here and pipe dream about him going somewhere right now to become the starter. That's over. We can cry over spilled milk. We can whine and complain. I'm not saying you guys are in the chat. I'm just saying we could do that. I realized that. I kind of, for a moment, was like, damn it. I wanted him to go. And I saw one of your comments, how is Russell Wilson currently, because I think they draft Shedeur in New York, but how is Russell Wilson a starter and Joe Milton just keeps getting overlooked? And look, all my buddies, I text message with tons of people throughout the day, different fan base, communities and such. And there's a running joke. It's like Joe Milton's, a lot of people don't see through the weeds like we do. And it's very easy for somebody, a passerby or a person embedded in their team. They're a fan page. They're fandom driven. They don't have the foresight that we have or come from the angle that we have. Not many people understand what he could become. And there's no lock or guarantee that he becomes what I suggest he could become. But that's why I'm put on this earth. That's why this show is here in existence, is to try and do the best job that I can, that we can, to predict the risers, the sleeping giants, the bust predictions, all of that. And nor do I expect us to be right all the time. I understand that, but we wouldn't be here if we weren't doing more good work than we were doing bad work, obviously. So when I say that I have a gut instinct that Joe Milton could be a star, not only in fantasy, but in the NFL, look, I'm going to stand alone for quite some time. Those of us that agree, will stand alone for some time, sitting there getting ridiculed, and passerbyers will say, Joe Milton, he hasn't proven anything. Well, people truly believe Brock Purdy's miles ahead of Joe Milton, or people truly believe that Russell Wilson deserves a start over Joe Milton, or that other quarterbacks in the National Football League like Geno Smith deserve to start over Joe Milton, because what has he proven? Who is he? He would have been on a team already starting if he was any good, because Kurt Warner's and Tom Brady's and Bucky Irving's and Arian Foster's and players that people overlook can't become stars, can they? They most certainly can. But that's why this channel exists. And I don't care if I get ridiculed by this group of people over here, my buddies over here, my Aunt Edna over here. I could give two shiots, because my job is to come out here, tell you what my gut is screaming, and whether I'm wrong or right, that gets determined as the season gets unfolded. But I can tell you right now, with certainty, inside my bones, deep inside my soul, that this guy's got the potential, not the lock, but the potential to be a star at the National Football League level. And I do wish, I want to cry over spilled milk and say, damn it, why isn't he throwing footballs to DK Metcalf in Pittsburgh? Why? Can you imagine this 6 foot, what is he, Ziggy, how tall is Joe Milton? 6'5" or 6'4"?
I don't have an answer to that.
Damn it, you know nothing. You know nothing. Let's go to the Krugmeister, because you know nothing, Ziggy. I'm going to fire you. You hear me, Ziggy? Let's go to Krug. Is he not working either? Kruger, how tall is Joe Milton? God, is anybody working today but me? Is anybody working today but me? Okay, Joe Milton. Let me put up his size and weight just so everybody can see it. 6'5", 246, 25 years old. Obviously, his body of work is TBA. I'm not a moron. I understand that. Okay? I totally get that. That is part of what I do. That's part of why I'm here. That's part of why this channel exists, is we got to predict the tough things. We can't have all the information. It's really easy to be like, oh, that guy started for 2 seasons. Let's talk about how good he could become. This is a tough business to be in. This is really, you get raked over the coals. I don't care. I got tough skin. I got thick skin, but I am passionate, and I'll go at anybody at any moment, at any time, any day. That's what this channel is about. And that's why a lot of you, I believe, love this channel, is because we speak our mind and we do it live. And this 6'5", 246-pound monster that can do backflips and front flips and throw 75 yards down the field through the air. We think he could throw a lot further. We don't know because he hasn't gone out there to truly test it. But he can literally drop back and just gunsling this ball that goes. And Ceedee Lamb can catch it. So, spilled milk aside, do I want him to be a starter right now? Yes, I do. Do I feel a lot more comfortable today than I did yesterday, knowing that he's in a great environment where Ceedee Lamb, maybe even Ted McMillan or Igbuka or another wide receiver at number 12 overall could come into this situation and make Milton or Dak or Milton, or how about the Dak Milton cuff, a very secure situation? How about Ceedee Lamb having the best potential backup quarterback sitting right there, ready to go if need be in the entire National Football League? Smitty, how can you make such a bold claim? Because I did, I will, and I can. I'm excited about this move. I'm really excited about it. As much as I'm disappointed in some ways, I'm excited about it. The official trade was the New England Patriots are sending QB Joe Milton to the Dallas Cowboys. Sources tell ESPN. With Cooper Rush going to Baltimore, Dallas now has a new backup quarterback. And what the exchange was a 5th round and 7th round swap. It wasn't even like, hey, here's a 5th round. It was a 5th and 7th round swap. Now, he was a 6th rounder, so the Patriots getting not even a actual free pick involved, just a swap. It feels like a step backwards. I get they're getting a 5th rounder. I get that in their mind, they're like, we took him in round 6. As long as we can get a 5 somehow, we justify the trade. Why did you even draft him? From a New England Patriot fan perspective, I'd have some major questions. And I'd say to myself, and Travis might call in a second and give us his opinion, but if this is me, I'm sitting here going, if I was a Patriots fan, and I'm not, why did we draft him? We had the foresight to say, hey, let's double up here like NASA. Let's have a backup plan for our backup plan. Let's be unreal and let's be outside the box. Let's be that team that knows what time it is and can prepare for the worst and say to ourselves, this guy's a talent, and if something happens to Drake May, we can shove him into the lineup and we'll be okay. And if you remember at the beginning of the year, when no one else thought Joe Milton deserved to be on our roster. Is this live? Bill wants to know. Bill, no, this is a replay, Bill. Check next time, Bill. Next time we'll be live, Bill. When news breaks, this channel doesn't go live when news breaks, Bill. Of course this is live, damn it. I'm not out here for my health, damn it. Bill, appreciate you. What was I saying before Bill interrupted me? I think that at the end of the day, the Patriots made a bold and amazing move. They said this guy's a star. Oh, I know what I was saying. I was telling you that I was promoting that the Patriots start him in week 1. And I got a lot of flack for that. You know, a lot of like, why would they do that? Why? Look, the Patriots didn't want to start Drake May in week 1. Remember that? Do you remember my reasoning or rationale for this? Is first of all, I wanted Joe Milton to get drafted in round 1. I wanted Joe Milton to get drafted in round 2. Joe Milton kept falling. I wanted a team like the Raiders to take their balls and put them on the table and draft Joe Milton to be their starter because they missed every other quarterback and Pierce dropped the ball. Pierce was handed the head coaching job over at LV, and he sharded all over the place. And when he had an opportunity to make up for missing on trading up for a quarterback, he leaves Joe Milton out there round after round after round after round. And I said, this guy should be starting for a team. And when the New England Patriots used their noggin and drafted him on top of Drake May, I said, this is genius and something I would do. And then when they said they wanted to bring Drake May along slowly, which was smart in a way, because you don't want to damage the guy. He has no weapons. How are you going to protect him? You don't want him getting beat up in a nothing burger rookie year. Maybe phase him in at the end. I said, start Joe Milton. What's the worst that could happen? Joe Milton goes out there and is so good. You now have a Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers situation. And some of you might say, oh, God, does Smitty think that Joe Milton could really compete with? Obviously, I do. Part of me feels like Joe Milton's that good. And if he created a problem for you, it'd be a great problem to have. But the Patriots were bold enough to draft him, but they weren't bold enough to necessarily use him. And so, you know what I think happened? They panicked. I think they got rid of Joe Milton for a 5 to 7 round swap, which is like giving him away for free after they showed the astute understanding to go get him in the first place. I think they got scared. They didn't want him to live in a place where he could cast a bigger shadow that would sometimes make the fan base question. Like if May had a moment, they'd be like, Joe Milton, get him in here. Get him. I think they just panicked. Otherwise, why would you be actively shopping? Why would you be actively shopping a player you took in the 6th round that gives you security beyond security? Why do the Patriots feel the need to get rid of him? And isn't Drake May confident enough to not have to worry about, I'm saying what I believe the Patriots were thinking. They're afraid of how big the shadow could be of Joe Milton, so they got rid of him. They panicked. But aren't you, if Drake May's that guy, nothing's going to scare him or spook him. He'll be fine. And I just don't understand why you would have the balls and ability to go get this kid, show the ability to understand the situation, and try and have a safety mechanism in place, and then you trade him away for nothing. And why are 30 other teams sitting on their rear ends? This is like Justin Fields all over again. Fields was able to had the year prior. Nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted him for even a 4th rounder, a 3rd rounder. There was a conditional pick involved that turned it into a 4th or 5th rounder, whatever the pick ended up being. This is ridiculous to me. How did 30 teams allow him to be traded for a 5th to 7th round pick swap? How come a team didn't say, give a 3rd rounder? We're the Bengals. Let's protect our assets. We just paid a boatload of money for T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. If Joe Burrow somehow got his elbow jacked up or arm or whatever, let's just have Joe Milton waiting in the wings. Why not spend a 3rd rounder, a 4th rounder? A 4th rounder straight up. Hell, a 5th rounder straight up would have got it done in hindsight, but I would have offered a 3rd not knowing. I would have said, here's a 3rd rounder. Take my money. Take my money. Here we go. Take my money. What are we doing? What are we doing? If I'm the Eagles, which the Eagles were interested, take my money. Here's a 3rd rounder. I don't care. Here's a tip. I'll give you a 4th rounder and a 7th rounder. I don't give a shit. Give me Joe Milton. How do the Cardinals not say Kyler Murray might not be able to see over the offensive line? We're just figuring that out. Go get Joe Milton. Take my money. How are 30 teams not trying to up this offer? How are 30 teams so inept in their scouting room that they don't know what potential this man has? How do 30 teams not see this coming? This is so bad. This is so bad. The scouting rooms in the NFL should be ashamed of themselves. Their mothers should be ashamed of themselves. The only team that shouldn't be ashamed of themselves right now is the Dallas Cowboys, surprisingly. Jerry Jones finally doing something positive. If he was even involved, maybe he tripped and fell and hit a butt with his head, and it accepted an incoming trade offer request via email with a link that activated it right away, and he has no idea he did it. But either way, good job, Jerry. Good on you.
Let him cook.
Unreal. Unreal. Phone lines are opened. Dial in, dial in, dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
How did the Miami Dolphins, you're right, Kane. How did the Miami Dolphins not say, gee, this kid could be pretty good? Smitty says he's going to be a star. Maybe we should trade for him because we have Tua Tagovailoa as our starting quarterback. I mean, what are we doing here, Smitty? This is why I love the show. Fresh takes, willingness to step outside the group and think on your own. Thank you, BBQ. Appreciate you and all your support, my boy. BBQ to the mother freaking moon. Dark City says, I trust your gut, Smitty. You were the only one pushing Bucky Irving and Jahmyr Gibbs. Thank you, Dark City. Appreciate you. We do what we can here on the channel, and we take a lot of flack even when we're right. I don't know. Whatever. People hate. People love to hate, I guess, a bold and extreme channel like this one. But that's okay. We still accept all people here. Bill's first live. Bill's first live. First 5. Appreciate you, Smitty. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you. Bill to the moon. What are we doing? Even the Bills, since Bill's name got thrown on screen, it made me think of the Bill. Why didn't the Bills go after him? Why didn't any team that, first of all, any team that has a running quarterback, because he's so mobile, he's so destructive on the run, how did these teams not say, look, this is a great fit for us? For what would have easily have gotten is a 5th rounder, straight up 5th rounder would have got it done, because this is a 5th round, 7th round swap. A 5th rounder alone would have got it done. And the truth is, and I'm not embarrassed to admit this, and I'm an honest person. I'm unbiased as it can be. I don't think you'll find a more unbiased analyst. I can adjust and adapt. I can admit when I'm wrong. I think a lot of times people think that I never admit I'm wrong because I dig my heels in on things I still truly believe in. And it comes across like this guy's doubling down. I'm not doubling down. But I'm telling you right now, I'm admitting this. I would have given a 3rd rounder without even looking. I would have overpaid. I would have overpaid, but I don't care. I'll admit it. I would have given a 3rd rounder for Joe Milton if I was any team. I don't care if he was my starter, like Pittsburgh could have used, or the Raiders instead of Geno Smith. And maybe I'm wrong on Joe Milton, but at least we know, in my opinion, there's a real shot that I'm right, and there's a real shot that he's a star. And what I do know for a fact is that Geno's not a star. What I do know for a fact is Geno's not likely getting you to a Super Bowl. What we don't know is if Milton would eventually become that. And while you're so quick, Johnny, quick on the keyboard, and Worried William and Angry Angus, you're sitting there typing away right now, especially on a replay, because everyone's so tough in the comments on a replay. Hey, Smitty, you don't really think Joe Milton could be a star? Don't stars rise all the time? What would somebody have said if we're talking Kurt Warner on the right? And you can't say you're comparing him to Kurt. We can do whatever we want. And at the end of the day, who's to say this isn't the next Kurt Warner? Just because it's rare doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And I'm trying to signal that this could be, not for sure. It takes development. There's a lot of injury, hurdles that players got to overcome. There's a lot of things he's got to overcome. He's not a lock of any kind, but the potential is there. The skill set is there. I see it. And the Dallas Cowboys stole Joe Milton away for an unbelievable price that doesn't even make sense. And I've got Travis on the phone who's a Patriots fan, and I'm sure I don't really even know exactly what you said yet, Travis, because I hadn't had a chance to look at the DMs that I sent you and you sent me back. And I haven't really even read a lot of the comments. I haven't seen your comment specifically. So I don't really know where you actually stand yet. I imagine because you drafted him in the 6th round to get a 5th to 7th round pick swap, you're probably not happy. And I believe you said before that you would much rather keep him than, maybe a 3rd rounder or something like that. And I don't think you're even happy at that point. What are they doing, bro? What are the Patriots doing?
It's pure incompetence.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
Because, like you said, you took him as a 6th rounder, and a lot of people say, "Oh, well, you're not losing much. But to be anything, he's way more valuable than a 5th or 6th rounder. You know, if you just look at how things go in the NFL and values of players. And on top of that, there's a pretty, Schefter is even reporting they turned down a better offer out of respect for him, which, that's great and all for, the locker room stuff and, they respect players, but it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at the end of the day. If you need to take the best offer
it's
for
a
your
business,
team, especially a team lacks in so many spots.
Do we know what team?
Kansas City Chiefs, or if you're the Patriots of 20 years ago, okay, you can pick and choose here or there. One draft pick round doesn't matter as much, but you have so many holes.
Do you know what team that offer was potentially with?
It still hasn't come out now.
Yeah.
They mentioned the 4 or 5 teams that were interested in him were the Raiders, Eagles, Giants, Steelers, and Cowboys. So that's at least 5 teams too that you have to play off each other. And I'm not saying that you could have got a 3rd or a 2nd or anything like that, but we know for a fact they could have got a 4th.
Say those teams again. LV, Philly, Dallas,
Giants, and Steelers. Now we also, those 2 supposedly at the beginning of the off season. So the Giants maybe now that they've signed the 2 guys don't want them. Maybe the Steelers with Rodgers don't want them anymore or something. But
if
an opportunity.
If I was to rank this, I would put of these 5 teams, I would put Philly last, because Hurts is not getting taken out of the lineup by Joe Milton, and there's just not a lot of opportunity there. I mean, he could win a Super Bowl or something with this team if, let's say, Hurts broke his hand and he was out 6 to 8 weeks, and there's certainly opportunity for him. So I would rank them 5. I would say Pittsburgh would be the clear one here because there's no quarterback there. But then Aaron Rodgers could come over, but I think Rodgers would come out of just like he did in New York. He maybe get, he come out of the lineup or something, or he could get hurt. There's a chance, not a guarantee, but a chance that he could get in there. And then I believe he could be the future. But Tomlin and Ron would say this if he was here. They don't know how to develop quarterbacks, so they could botch this. They could ruin the opportunity. Like right now in Dallas, it looks like it's a lesser opportunity. But if Dak got moved out of the way via injury, and Dak's been injured twice now, more than twice, but twice having severe season-ending injuries. So there's actually a stranger, harder to see clearer path for Dallas than Pittsburgh, just because of the way Pittsburgh could screw it up in 100 different ways. LV, you don't know the commitment to Geno. They're trying to work out a long-term deal. At the end of the day, initially it would feel like Pittsburgh would be 1 because of the opportunity, but if Aaron Rodgers came in, that would change. It would feel like LV would be 2 because Geno's not the guy long-term, in my opinion, but they're about to give him an extension. And New York, I would say, would be, obviously, if they trade for Joe Milton, they wouldn't be drafting Shedeur most likely. But how does this work? I think at the end of the day, long-term wise, would I rather have New York if I believe that they would see the talent, understand the talent, and it all gets figured out? Yes. But I think quietly, Dallas could be considered the 2 just because this is Ceedee Lamb, the 12th pick overall, could be a wide receiver. They could take a Ibuka or Ted McMillan, and Dak's got a major injury history, not to mention the entire league pretty much wrote him off. The entire fantasy football community, the entire NFL community, at least twice in his last 3 or 4 years, to where it's like Dak's garbage, got to get rid of Dak. Dak just got a new deal. Dak has been revived. I like Dak. We even said on the show the other day, he's probably one of the sneakiest 9, 10, 11, 12 round picks in all of fantasy football. But there is an opportunity here. So I like this landing spot. You could argue which ones are better based on the angle you're coming from. But man, part of me was, I felt kicked in the stomach when he got traded to be a backup. But this is awesome for Ceedee Lamb. There's if let's say Dak went down again, the feeling we had about Lamb last year, where it's like, God, Lamb's got to carry all this weight on his back and potentially injure himself and just, try and do what BT's doing, carrying the entire team, which BT did in a phenomenal way. But like, we don't want that for Ceedee Lamb year in and year out, because you get a lesser version of him. And it's a great version, but it's still a lesser version. And it's a version that led to a lot of injuries. He was dealing with like 3 or 4 injuries at the end of the year because he's carrying the entire team on his back, catching hospital balls. If Dak were to go down, I don't know that Lamb would miss a beat. And we don't even know if Lamb would be better. It's just Joe Milton has a special arm. And it's untapped right now. And it's very easy to make fun of it. It's very easy for a fandom-based person that's watching right now that's rooted in their team's fandom, like a Niner fan or a Cardinal fan or a Rams fan, and they're literally going to come at this with the pretend it's football knowledge. Like, oh yeah, I've been doing football, I've been watching football for years, I've been a biased, Niner fan, or I've been a biased, Rams fan for years. You may have, but you're coming from a very obscured and corrupted angle. And the bottom line is that you can make fun of the being ahead of the curve and trying to predict, stardom out of this guy, or you can understand that the talent's there. You can look at it from a different perspective. I don't expect a 10, 12-year fan of a team to look at things like I do, to look at things like a lot of us do here on the channel. And maybe we're wrong. Maybe Milton busts, but some of that might not even be our fault. Maybe it's misuse. Like if you went to LV and they just stayed with Geno and they never really developed him, and then he ended up... The problem is, wherever he goes, which we now know it's Dallas, he's got a very small window of time before he either becomes labeled by the league as a backup and nobody wants to... People are too scared to touch him, and having an opportunity to show what he's capable of doing. So it'll be interesting what happens. You almost have to root for a Dak downfall if you want Milton to become anything for the future. But I think the best way to look at this from a fantasy football perspective, and that's what this show is it's all about Ceedee Lamb. Today is a celebration of Ceedee Lamb's security by the acquisition of Joe Milton, who I believe would be as good, if not better, than Dak Prescott. And this is coming from somebody that continuously has said and will say that Dak is going to have a great year.
That's going to make a difference to make, where it's from a fantasy football perspective, in terms of, I do think, Lamb would be as good, maybe even better in some situations. Not saying the Cowboys would be better off right away. If Lamb ends up, if Milton ended up being a really good starter, sure. But the ability to get the ball down the field to Lamb is invaluable. Milton can do that. And a lot of people will say, oh, Milton's inaccurate, he can't make the short passes. He needs a little work for that, but he can make plenty of throws. We that throw preseason. And I get it was against second stringers and stuff, but still he made the throws that were there.
BBQ gifting 20 gifted memberships. Thank you, BBQ. BBQ to the moon. Yeah, I could care less if somebody comes in and goes, oh, Milton's not good at this or Milton's not good at that. You know what I have to say to that person? I don't even have time to talk to you. Like what kind of analysis is that you're going to judge a player off of not playing yet? Like, oh, he doesn't do this good, or he doesn't do that. That's like when someone comes in and says something about like JD5 being at his ceiling just because he played so good as a rookie. You have no clue that he's nowhere near his ceiling. He can't be. Like JD5 is just because he was as good as he was doesn't mean you got everything out of him already. It's just people don't use their brain. To judge Joe Milton right now in accuracy or anything, like, look at Josh Allen his rookie year. He couldn't throw at all. Like, what are people talking about? Joe, I don't have time for that nonsense. I just move around it. You want to, even in my comments, you're like, Smitty, let me tell you what, sorry that happened to you, or glad that happened to you, whatever applies to this long comment that you think I'm going to read. But I read the positive comments. I don't really respond much to the negative comments or the haters. If you have a positive comment, a question, I try to get to you. You know that. I try and get to all my comments. But people are just off the rocker, bro. They love to hate.
And so just to address, like, right away, I think Cody in the chat says Milton to be better than Dak is interesting. Ceedee was already safe. See Russ. That's not what you or I are saying here. It's that Ceedee can still be elite if Dak goes down and Milton comes in. He wasn't that top 3 to 5 guy.
Yeah, he got watered down a lot. He was like a really good fountain drink that the ice had been put in, the soda had been poured, and you went to the bathroom and it took a little longer than expected. You come out 7-8 minutes later and you take a sip of that soda, just a smidge watered down. It's still good. You could tell it was a good soda, right, but it's not quite the same. And Cody, here's the thing, Cody. No offense, Cody. I'm not trying to drive you away. I hope you understand this is just my passions talking. If you think Joe Milton is Cooper Rush, I don't give a shit. You could think what you want. I'm telling you what I believe, and Joe Milton is a sleeping giant monster. Cooper Rush is a fill-in. He's a fill-in. He's good. He's decent. He's a fill-in. But if you think that this is not a difference, then I don't. That's fine. I don't really. I'm not going to sit here and beg you to listen to me. Like, you clearly have an opinion. I've been live for 36 minutes telling you why Joe Milton's a monster. And if at this point you're saying it's not really that big of a, then I don't know what I can tell you, Cody. You know, do you? I appreciate you, and I'm not asking you to leave. I'm not saying it in a negative way. I'm just merely saying, you know, that's great, you know. But I don't care. Like, you do you. I'm telling you, Joe Milton's an absolute superstar, just sleeping. Now, maybe he gets ruined. Maybe Dallas and Jerry, they never give him a shot. Maybe they put him as the third quarterback. You know, like, I can't control everything. But I'm telling you, if he gets in there, he's exploding. All right, one more.
Yeah, I'll let you go to someone else.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know there's other people. Just two quick things. If May needs to be coddled, which I hear a lot of, I think that's a cop-out in either the team, it's about that, or if he needs to be coddled, you got a much bigger problem on your hands. You should have kept Milton. And then Drew in the chat made a good point. He said, weird thing is Elliott Wolf was involved in drafting Milton, which tells me this is either a Kraft thing or a Vrabel thing. And that scares the crap out of me, too.
Yeah, I think
what I said. Green Bay likes to collect quarterback.
Yeah. What I said, you're cutting in and out. You're cutting in and out a little bit. We can't hear that last part. But I'll say this, and then I got to move on to the other callers. I'll come right back to you, Travis. But it's like I said at the beginning. I believe that the Patriots panicked on some level, and like you said, Vrabel's in there. It's kind of a different, you know, it's a different regime in a sense right now. So they're trying to pick their guys and get their system in place. Just like Aaron Glenn came into New York and cut all the Green Bay guys out. Get rid of Adams. Get rid of Aaron Rodgers. They're cancers to the situation. Let's get back to the youth and core of this team. And it was a great move. I don't know that this is necessarily the right move to come in and say, well, the old regime is the regime that drafted, you know, Milton, and we want to get rid of him because he's a distraction in the fan base. I think it's a bad move. I agree with you. I think that they panicked because they felt like the shadow that Joe Milton at 6'5", 246 pounds could cast over Drake May. Not saying that Drake May's worse or better, or we don't even really know yet. But I think we can assume that Drake May's got the ability to be good enough to not worry about anybody behind him. Like, you drafted him to be that guy. And if you're worried about the shadow that Joe Milton's casting, you have two questions you got to answer. As you just alluded to, is if Joe Milton's so good that his shadow is going to ruin Drake May, then keep him. Because that's a monster right there. And if you're so worried about, let's say it's not that big, but you just don't want the distraction, then Drake May's not that guy if he can't fend off a shadow. So it really is a tough thing for me to understand how New England sees this as a good move unless they came in and, like you said, incompetence when you just started, they came in and they don't see the talent and they're like, get rid of them. And then I'm laughing because I'm like, holy shit, then I'm not as confident in this situation if that's how they view. The thing is, we don't know what viewpoint it is. Is it the shadow that they're worried about, or is it they just didn't like Joe Milton? But how could you not like Joe Milton? That's the other part that's head scratching to me. And the people that hate on him, like right now, if there's anyone in there or later in the comments on the replay, if somebody comes in and goes, Milton's nothing more than a blah, 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 or hey, Milton's not accurate, or hey, Milton, if he was so good, he would have been drafted to start. That's my favorite, nonsensical answer. Then, those people, I don't, like I said, I don't even care. I'm not trying to, I've got 40 minutes of me telling you why. And if you at this point still think you know more than me about it, fine, I don't care. And you might. I mean, but that's why the channel's here. I tell you my opinion. I don't need to accept anybody else's. Some people think this is a compromise. The show is about a compromise. Or when people say, Smitty, you didn't even listen to the other person's take. Technically, this is not a debate or a panel. It's a documentary on my life or on my opinion. And I of course, I love everybody else's. I bring it in. I got an open phone line. Nobody takes more opinions in than this channel. Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Nobody reads all the comments that they can like I do, answers all the super chats. And our super chats are more plentiful than any channels that you can find. So there's so much to read and put on screen and comment. And then I take open phone lines. But look, this show, there's a reason there's not a co-host here. You guys are the co-host. And I'll read everything I can, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to drop my opinion and I'm going to be passionate about it. And I'm telling you that this kid is a potential, because anybody can be ruined, rising star quarterback. Unfortunately, again, not to cry over spilled milk, he didn't go somewhere where he gets to start, but he went somewhere that's amazing in terms of surrounding talent, and it's quietly, deceptively good in terms of opportunity and path to the lineup, because Dak Prescott has had a history of not being able to finish seasons. So at the end of the day, Joe Milton could become a savior. And this is the best place. I'd rather him be a savior in Dallas than go to a place where you got a young quarterback that doesn't have the injury history and doesn't have the surrounding talent. So give me Joe Milton to Dallas all day long. And if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, you just got handed an amazing safety net. And today is a great day. Today is Joe Milton Day. And we're going to create that calendar of player dates. And today will be Joe Milton Day. Hold on one second, Travis. Let me go around the phone line real quickly. We got Samuel. You're live, my boy. Okay, let me go over to the 214 caller. See if the 214 caller is ready. 214, you're live. What's up, Jordan?
Look, man, I'm from Dallas, so I followed the Cowboys pretty closely throughout the years. And I would say when Dak was mobile, they were probably playing at their best. When he hurt his ankle, he tried to babysit him and tell him, or he had his, the consciousness not to run anymore. Kind of when we saw, them kind of fall a little bit, and then they had the baby season with him and Ceedee, where they records and stuff like that. That's cool. But having Joe Milton as a backup, I mean, that explains CeeDee Lamb getting even more of a discount at his ADP right now in fantasy, because I believe he's top 2. I believe he's already top 2 with Dak.
Yeah,
you get Joe Milton in there. Joe Milton, he's a monster. I mean, mobile quarterback. He's shown his arm. He's very good. I mean, this man does a full backflip at 6'5", 240 pounds.
I know. You know what the hater's gonna say? Oh, does backflipping make you a good quarterback? It's like that's the kind of I know, but that's the kind of incompetence that I just move around. I'm like, come on, bro. Like no one's saying that. No one's saying that. We're trying to depict his as athleticism. We're trying to depict that at 6'5", 246, the guy can move, and doing backflips is important to me. It is. I don't care what anybody says. You do a backflip at 246, 6'5", and you've got a cannon where you can without even moving your feet really throw a 65, 75-yard bomb in the air the entire way. There's so much raw talent there. It's why I thought Josh Allen would be not a top 5 quarterback, a top 1 to 5 quarterback, because there was intangibles there that you can't teach somebody. And Joe Milton reminds me a lot of Josh Allen in that there's a cannon that nobody else has in the league. Literally, I think Joe Milton might be able to outthrow anybody in the National Football League. I believe that. And he's got good accuracy as well. And he's also got an uncanny way to scramble inside the pocket. I always say Brock Purdy's an average quarterback at best, but he's one of the better pocket presence quarterbacks in the National Football League. And when I see Joe Milton in the pocket, I see that, where he knows where to move. He has good peripheral vision. You can't really teach that. And then when he gets outside and he scrambles, Joe Milton is such a dangerous runner, it's not even funny. But when he's scrambling, he's not scrambling to run. He's scrambling to pass. And when he runs to a sideline, he's looking to pass the entire way. And he'll tuck it and run if he needs to. But his ability to scramble and having the defense having to spy him is making for second chance route runs that these receivers are running that are going to be single covered, and they're going to be very easy for him to find a player knifing across the field, which is what you see on a lot of his highlights. If you go back and watch, we don't have a lot to go on, obviously, but you can go back and watch college. But that game he played last year, you could say backups, all that. You could say whatever you want to tear him down. I really don't give a crap. I know what I see, and I see a guy that when he moves and he's mobile, he's creating second chance routes that it's done in a different way than even like a Caleb or something. He's very accurate. His ball placements, his knowledge of ball placement is unmatched. You can't teach it. There's that one throw that is said to be, I think it was like a 5% chance of probability of being completed by the NFL stat makers. And he scrambles to the left, and he's literally like running, and he has to throw it when his body's contorted this way. He throws it, and literally the defender, the D-back or the safety, whoever is on the receiver in the end zone, and this is like 40, 50 yards downfield, he didn't think there was a possibility that Joe Milton could throw this ball before the wide receiver that was running toward the sideline could get to the sideline. And Joe Milton throws this like 5% probability throw that was calculated. And it was a missile. It was a dart. It was a laser. And I'm just telling anybody that wants to doubt him all you want. Doubt it all you want. You know, like CB saying the Milton glaze. You're just jealous. For whatever reason, you're either jealous by, and maybe you were just joking here or something, but anybody that's in here saying negative things about Milton, there's two things going on. One of two things going on. You're either jealous that your team didn't get him, or you're jealous that you didn't know he was good. And your only rationalization is to try and crap on it so that you feel better about you missing the player. When people miss a player and don't see a player coming, it makes them feel bad. It makes them feel like they lack knowledge. And so instead of adjusting and adapting, which is the main thing I try and teach my people here, is to not feel that way, to adjust and adapt. When you feel something different, go in that direction. Don't try and always be right. Be right at the end of the day. Don't be right at the beginning. Be right at the end. And when you end up seeing a player look differently, and you just pour more bad on it because you want your first initial reaction and prediction to be correct, or you feel worse, that is not a good way to look at it.
The acquisition is 10 times better than the Trey Lance acquisition.
Of course.
But they tried to do it. They tried to do it that time, but this one's different.
All right. I appreciate it, my boy Jordan. We'll see you later, pal.
Hey, Smitty.
All right, let me go over to Samuel here in a second. Samuel from 619. I'm coming for you 1 second. Hang tight. The last thing I'll say is this on this topic, and then I'll take some phone calls, and then we'll see how much longer we're here. But you look at the number one wide receiver is Jamar Chase. Okay, Jamar Chase has a very secure quarterback situation, but if his QB goes down, his value goes down slightly. Not a ton, but it goes down slightly. He's very QB proof. But like Ceedee Lamb last year, that's what happens to Jamar Chase. He carries the team on his back. He still gets it done. He's going to lack in either touchdowns or yardage. He can't possibly have the same clip every single week. I would more so say that Jamar Chase goes from, if Burrow were to go down, Jamar Chase has the yardage, but his touchdown totals and opportunities get cut in half. If the next receiver, JJ, doesn't even have a secure quarterback situation right now at all. Like Lamb is arguably, and Neighbors once he gets Shedeur Sanders, hopefully, then he has a lot of security, probably a little more security overall than everybody, but maybe not the obviously as talented of a quarterback as Joe Burrow or anything. Lamb is the one to me right now that is literally untouchable. As long as he stays healthy, his value can't be hurt, damaged. It can't decline. He is the safest wide receiver in fantasy potentially going forward. This is still my dark horse number one in Malik Neighbors, but there's a reason I'm calling him dark horse. I'm not drafting him number one. I'm not drafting him number two. I don't expect anybody else to. In fact, you're not listening to me if you're drafting Neighbors in the top 2 or 3 wide receivers. I'm not asking you to take Ceedee Lamb number one. I would take Jamar Chase number one over and over all day long, especially if you get the 1.1. You rarely get a chance to get Jamar Chase, and that's the only place to take him. He's the consensus 1.1. So if you want to own Jamar Chase, you have to take him whenever you have the 1 pick. You just have to. But I quietly feel like Lamb is potentially in the driver's seat for the only wide receiver that is capable of unseating Jamar Chase. And at the end of this season, we look at Lamb as a top 2 or 3 overall pick in 2026. All right, let me go over to the 619 caller. Is this Samuel?
Yeah, Smitty. I'm this is TM42.
Oh,
I don't think you have me saved anymore.
Oh, TM42. What's up, my boy?
Yeah, I'm just really excited because I'm a Cowboys fan, and I'm excited about how it's actually making a move that makes people once in a while. Like they redeemed themselves for trading for Trey Lance and not even using him. So, happy about that. But also, I think this trade is similar to the RG3 back in the day, where they traded away the good quarterback. I think overall Kirk Cousins had a better career than RG3, and I think that Milton has that potential to be that baller that can run, has an arm, has all the attributes. I think we'll see, if they can coach him up and make him better. Dallas hasn't had a backup QB since Dak himself backing up Romo. We've always had average, mediocre kind of back. I'm hyped about this, and in fantasy.
Yeah, this is great. For those saying Dak to Cleveland, Dak to be traded, Dak can't be traded, guys. There's not, his contract's too fresh. If there's anything I teach you, is when a player signs a new contract, they can't be traded. The contract is the dead cap, and the way that contracts are structured, you can't trade a player. And even coming off their 1 year of the contract, it's literally it's possible in some rare circumstances the contract would have to be structured in such a way that the dead cap wasn't crazy. But when people think like, oh yeah, Dak Prescott, now he's going to get traded, he can't get traded. Even Ayuk couldn't get traded because of the contract. The Niners wanted to trade Ayuk. They wanted to trade him before the guarantee kicked in and triggered his $31 million total guaranteed on his contract on April 1st. So they couldn't trade him though. There was no way to trade him. Just like Herbert, there was thoughts, and talk, and we were excited about the idea of Herbert getting traded last year, but at the end of the day, it couldn't happen because of the dead cap. It just couldn't. So in terms of Dak Prescott's contract, I believe the dead cap for 2025, I think this is correct. Let me see if I can put his contract up here. I think it's 180 million. So there's no way. I believe that this is correct. Dead cap savings, I believe it's 180. I'll pull it up from a different source, but right now this is what I found. I don't know if this is entirely accurate. Right here, 2025 base salary $2 million, prorated signing bonus $48 million, guaranteed salary $2 million, cap number $50 million, cap percentage 16.5, and his dead cap money's $180 million. So there's no trading Dak Prescott. This is not a sign that Dak is getting traded. So just to put that to bed. Thank you, BBQ, again for the damn gifted memberships.
To Jupiter.
To Jupiter goes BBQ. All right, any final thoughts? TM42, appreciate you calling in. And congrats on having the best backup quarterback maybe in the National Football League.
Yeah, exciting. And I think it makes Dak better, too. Dak should, have put a fire under his butt for...
Yeah. All right, bro. Appreciate you. All right, Travis, final thoughts, my boy. We'll be back, though.
Yeah, just two quick things. First of all, I give Dallas credit for the move, but I don't give him all that much credit, especially Jerry. It fell in his lap. They chose to send him there because Milton wanted to go there. There were better offers. There were other teams making offers. So, credit where it's due for pulling the trigger, but I don't.
You don't want to give Jerry. You don't want to give Jerry too much credit. Well, I mean, yeah, I think
credit for pulling the trigger, but people are talking like this is a mastermind move by Jerry. Like, oh, he always screws up, and then he makes a move like that, and I just don't quite buy it.
Kind of Dumb and Dumber like. It's kind of like the trading in the minivan for the bike. It's pretty good, but I hear what you're saying. We don't know if I still think Jerry could have hit his head on the keyboard, accepted the trade, and not known it. But I think at the end of the day, one team accepted it. And so I do give the Cowboys credit for that, but I get what you're saying. I think Jerry screwed up so many other things that it's hard to give him too much credit for anything. But I do think that this finally was a good move, and he has had some questions about Dak Prescott. And let me just put this out there. As much as I do love Dak this year, he's rehabbed, he looks good. I'm excited about Dak. I think Dak's one of the most underrated. This will even help. He'll fall even further, maybe even like a half a round. He's one of the most underrated. And that 180 is correct. If you look at this 2025 line, $180 million dead cap. So Dak Prescott cannot be traded, just so everybody knows. I think that, what was I saying? Credit Jerry Jones.
He asked that question about Dak.
Oh yeah. Okay, so as much as I love Dak Prescott this year, and I think he's a steal, keep in mind Jerry went pretty hardcore against him at the end of the year, and when the team was like, what'd they say? Said something to the effect of like, do you think that, do you wish you had Dak back or something like that? And his answer was, I forget the exact quote or what was said, but it's something along the lines of like, we'll probably play better without Dak. Like he had something against him, and it was thought in the offseason, there's no way he's going to want to extend this guy. There's almost zero chance the way he talked about him. And so obviously things change, but I just think that there's more of a pathway given Dak's injury history, even if I love him this year. And honestly, like in best ball, I have no problem drafting Dak, Joe Milton, and then like a Mahomes, or, Josh Allen, Dak, and Joe Milton. Just having that Dallas quarterback situation locked up, I think in best ball is tremendous. I think Joe Milton's a league winner in that sense. If he's like your last bench player especially in these 20-round drafts where you can get that extra player somewhere. If it's an 18-round best ball draft, you can't afford to have like 4 quarterbacks or anything. But in these 20 rounds, I think a guy like Joe Milton could be that sleeping giant that gets you this massive production, in that spot where you can punt quarterback for a while. But anyway, I think this is a phenomenal move. But again, the celebration here, as in the graphic, as in the title, as in everything I've said, the spilled milk over him going to a place to start right away, we got to get over that. And as much as I want to talk about it and relish the idea of him going and starting somewhere, that ship has sailed. That the bet has been made. This is where it's going to go, this direction. But what this does for CeeDee Lamb is it puts him in an untouchable category of having safety. And Lamb, to me, is the safest wide receiver in fantasy football. The safest, by far and away. Jamar Chase, obviously, is the number one. If Joe Burrow's healthy, he's the one. I'm just saying Lamb has that safety, situation now that others don't have. I love it. It's fantastic. Chase is still the one. Understand what I'm saying. All right, Travis, I'll be back. You got anything else?
Yeah, just the last thing. I'll jump. I've seen a decent amount, too, people saying in the chat, and I've heard people calling in the local shows and saying, like, oh, well, people are going to get too worked up over this. Like, be patient. Too much credit. One, just anytime you don't take the best deal, there's a question to be had. But two, this BS is supposed to be over with for the Patriots. These questionable moves and, kind of throw your hands up, shrug and go, what the hell were they thinking? They're supposed to be past that. They had a good off season. They put the money in the right place once they couldn't get elite offensive pieces. They still went and made the logical move, built their defense up. So I think it is. They can redeem themselves. But legit criticism should be thrown on the Patriots.
Yeah.
Patriots.
Yeah, I don't know why they would do this. And I don't know if this was Kraft and Vrabel was like, don't do it, don't, damn it. Like, how could and I like Vrabel a lot. So I very much wonder if he was against this, because I almost can't respect him as much. I still do. I like Vrabel a lot, but I'm almost like, I can't. How can you?
Like,
can you do it?
A lot of the stuff you hear locally is that he didn't want the headache, and to build the right culture, he didn't want that going on in the locker room. And it's like, he's a second-year, 6th round. You sit down and talk to him, and you say your turn will come. Like, they had the thing with Jimmy G, and I guess Bill Belichick has more juice than Vrabel, but he waited until that 3rd year he didn't get as much. He took the worst deal too, but he waited till that value went up to get a good pick. I mean, this was just giving away Milton to avoid a culture problem in the locker room. If that's the case, then that's inexcusable.
Yeah, and again, you have this 2 angles to look at it. If you got rid of Milton for a culture problem, not because he's a bad guy, that's not it. It's because they're afraid of how big of a shadow he casts over. Then that means that he's that good to keep.
That's the worst problem.
Yeah, it means he's so good that you should be keeping him, or he's so good you should have got way more. And if you're getting rid of him because you just don't want Drake May to get his feelings hurt because there's a little bit of fan hype that the coaches don't necessarily buy into, then you have a quarterback in Drake May that doesn't have a strong enough backbone. So, like, either way, and I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying, like, how do you explain this? You can't. A 5 to 7 rounds, you could almost say that's worse value than what they paid. Like, he's got so much hype.
Well,
you got to turn him into something more than you drafted. This is not like you drove the car off the lot. It lost $2,000 immediately driving the car off the lot, and then you try and trade it for something around that. No, this is an investment. This is like getting gold. And Joe Milton has been increasing in value. The interest is high. And instead of getting a 5th rounder straight up, instead of a 6th rounder, what you paid to draft him, you take a 5th round to 7th round swap. What in the hell is going on here? Who's making the decisions in New England?
Yeah, you're better off holding them and just cutting them.
Yeah. All right, Travis, call back when we're back live again. I'm sure there'll be more stuff. Later, bro. I got an email that I was gifted a membership. Smitty, who is the beauty I have to thank for that? BBQ. BBQ dropped 20 gifted memberships a minute ago, so thank BBQ. Drop the BBQ emoji that you now have access to drop because you get those emojis. Anybody else wants to become a YouTube exclusive member, just click the membership tab on the YouTube page. And Alex, with the 18-month membership, at what point does Milton become the starter? I don't think he takes over Dak's job. I'm not saying that he replaces Dak, but Dak has had some major injuries that have taken him out for multiple seasons. So there's an opportunity and a path, especially with the talent around him, that's worth it in this situation versus others. Like if he's going to be a backup somewhere, let's let him be a backup in a situation that's full of glory. June says, Smitty, what side do you take, the 1.1 and 2.3 or the 1.3 and Joe Milton? I assume this is a super flex or you wouldn't be asking this question. And it doesn't even matter. The 1.1, Genty is by far and away worth 3 future first rounders. BBQ is a boss. That's correct. All right, guys. Ceedee Lamb to the mother freaking moon.
Get lambed.
There are handfuls of Saturn, Mars, and Moon men, but only 8 can be supernovas. I give you the 8 best picks in fantasy football.
They are the 8 supernovas. They are the 8 supernovas.
There he is. Look at Lamb. Look at Lamb. Look at Lamb. Lamb chops.
The hateful 8 supernovas. I'm looking at the 8 supernovas. The magnificent 8.
Liftoff of mission 41D, the first flight of the orbiter Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Mr. London, what seems to be the problem? I've been a little off. Can't seem to get things going, if you know what I mean. I think I have just the thing for you, Mr. London.
He's Kyron, he's 7 feet tall, and he knows how to handle a ball. He's Kyron, he can take frowns and turn them upside down with his touchdowns. He's BTJ, what you gonna do? He's BTJ, he's gonna put it on you. He's BTJ, gonna have a good game. He's BTJ, your mama screams his name. BTJ is going to put it on you. There's not a single thing that you can do. BTJ is going to put it on you. There's not a single thing that you can do.
I'm live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. Live additionally whenever news breaks, just like this. Deuces. Yes, guys keep asking. A lot of people keep saying Dak can get traded. He's got a no-trade clause as long as he waives that. Technically speaking, yes, he has a no-trade clause. And technically speaking, could anybody get traded? I guess in theory, sure. But Dak cannot be traded. He has a $180 million dead cap. He's not getting traded. It's not happening. See you all later.